All right, what is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Lifting, Running, and Living with your favorite people, podcasters. Some of us coach, some of us don't, but we still hang out. Kelly,
Hello.
hey, and JK, that's me. And we are rejoined by special guest, friend of the show, and overall, just all around friend, Joy
IRL friend.
Parrish.
IRL friend. Hi,
Yeah.
friends. Thank
An
you for having me
IRL
back.
episode
Yes.
of LRL. There we go.
Oh, God.
I'm really just trying to eventually get into being like the regular guest. So I think once a year, maybe we're going to do twice a year. Then it'll be once a quarter. So that's
Gotcha.
just, I have an agenda.
Okay.
We're
It's,
accepting applications.
Yeah, you did a great job of hiding said agenda. That was that was fantastic. That was fantastic. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. You could be like a special correspondent.
I know. I'd
typically
love to be a
comes on.
correspondent. Yeah.
Breaking news with Joy.
Yeah.
Is that
Really
There
just
we go.
complaining about the news with Joy. So that's, we're not going to be neutral with anything. It'll just be a lot of complaining. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know
Well,
if your listeners need that.
We could be down with that. Like what's hot in the internet streets with Joy Parrish.
That sounds so
There we
fun.
go. Speaking of, let's take a moment and have Joy introduce herself. For those of you who may not be familiar with Joy, who has been on the podcast before, and then both Kelly and I, over the last, would it be a couple of years at this point, or even further back, have been able to be on your podcast
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, Joy, you want to introduce yourself to the folks before we go ahead and jump into today's topics? We're going to skip like life updates and all that stuff. We're going straight.
Okay.
After this.
No
Yeah.
life updates for you today. Well, hello everyone. I am Joy Parrish. Where do we begin? Well, I guess the easiest way would be to say that I have been podcasting for, I think it's 13 years now. Started a podcast in the CrossFit space in 2013. And then kind of just, we've been doing CrossFit for a long time. And then we pivoted in 2020 when the world shut down. And so my co-host Claire and I have been doing different iterations of that podcast over the years. I also host a British Bake Off podcast every season when that comes out. We skipped last year. I can't remember why. I do know why. I think there was like podcast overload where I was like, I don't think I can just regurgitate the Bake Off shows every week for however long weeks.
And Claire was moving too.
And Claire was in the middle of a move. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my historian. And then I also do a mental health podcast. So I am a therapist by day. I'm a mental health therapist. I've been in the field for over 20 years. And I currently work in telehealth, managing with a telehealth company. So I do all sorts of things. I'm kind of I volunteer. I raise service dogs. I like to work out. That is the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, so many things.
I just ran with donkeys last weekend. I did a run with donkeys. That was really fun.
Yeah,
bro running.
That you were getting into that on the
getting
most recent
into
episode that I
yes,
listened to.
getting into is probably. I did a run, and I'll probably do another one. Maybe like once a month will probably be my thing, just timing wise. But it's so fun. I didn't realize it was a thing.
With the donkeys.
Running with the donkeys, pack bro running is a thing, and then they have pack bro races all across the U.S. Yeah. It's kind of cool. It's very cool. It's really rooted in history, obviously, like people taking their donkeys across the lands and their donkeys carrying their goods. And now this agency rescues donkeys and runs them because they like to run, it turns out. But they are kind of stubborn and they also like to eat. So you kind of have to you have to learn all sorts of ways, like how to keep your donkey running. It's great. You'll hear all about it on this week's show because I go over the whole thing.
This sounds so relatable. Like stubborn, likes to eat. Like totally.
Yeah.
This speed. I've got a
doesn't like
question.
to run up the hill. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh well, I am really related.
Yep, that's JK.
I know. For a while, I thought my running spirit animal was a turtle, but a donkey might be.
It might be
Donkeys
because
like
it's
to
like,
run though, but you don't.
but
How
they
fast are
actually,
they running? That's the question that I have.
well, it
What kind of
depends.
speeds are we expecting here?
Yeah, this nonprofit, this sanctuary matches you with a donkey that goes your speed.
A pacer
So
donkey. Wow.
yeah, so I signed up with this friend. Like they're around 10, 11 minute miles. I was like, this is great. But there's some people who do this professionally, like really in it to win it, and they're gone. Like their donkey's probably running 7 to 8 minute miles consistently. But yeah, so different donkeys have like different types of paces and personalities. It's great.
This is a whole new thing that I've now been introduced to. I didn't realize that was a thing.
This is
Now
going
you
to be
know.
JK's next event that he trains for.
Well, let's not put the cart before the donkey here. Hold on. I don't know about that. All right. All right. So with that being said, let's see. So last week we teased a bit of a particular topic that we were going to get into, and then I don't know that we necessarily ran out of time. However, when we got to that particular topic, we realized we could go, as usual, a lot of different directions. And then Joy came to mind with her background in the mental health space and being able to really, from my perspective, being able to bring just a very different perspective when it comes to um, the understanding of not just like casual conversation amongst like everyday people. You bring a professional aspect, I think, to this conversation. And what we're talking about is initially we were going to talk about just where is that line between how someone who is in the fitness, wellness, I guess in this case, we're going to talk about Peter Attia, like the longevity, just I'll put it in the overall fitness, health, wellness umbrella, I guess, space. Where is that line, or is there a line between what they do, what they get into, who they associate with outside of their practice, and then their practice? So, for those who aren't aware, which I'm not sure that there would really be a whole lot of folks who wouldn't be aware at this point, um, Peter Attia is someone who is fairly well known within the fitness, health, wellness space. He labels himself as a longevity expert, probably most notably known for a book called Outlive. And his name popped up in the Epstein files. And this is not about like going through all the different details of exactly what was there. This is more what we wanted to bring Joy on for, was to really help us with having this conversation around, again, just this overall just topic of when it comes to folks in this space, where like how do we process things like this? So with that being said, first I'm just going to kind of throw it out there to you, Joy. When you first heard that his name was included in these particular documents, like what was your first thoughts, first reaction? And you can take this whatever direction you want to. I'm just trying to tee it up somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Well, I think with the Epstein files, what kept coming out was like, they're in the Epstein files. Like, that person. It's like, who wasn't in the Epstein files, right? But I think when it comes to, let's call it, these wellness experts that are very well established and have a great following and make a ton of money, either off of books or podcasts or whatever it is. And then this kind of, I am just like a natural born skeptic. I am skeptical of people who are very like, I'm the expert.com. You know what I mean? I am very skeptical of anyone who claims to be an expert in anything. And then I get it. You have to like market yourself. And that's probably like a PR person being like, we're going to put your face on things and you're going to sell. I find it very hard, and I would love for people to prove me wrong, of like someone who's done it without selling their soul to the devil, quite frankly. Like, can you think of anyone off the top of your head who has like been in this like very I can't think of one. Like I think of Dr. Oz, Soul to the Devil. I think of
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Phil. A lot of the people that Oprah put on a platform, I have concerns about. Jay Shetty, quite frankly. Mel Robbins, huge issues with Mel Robbins. So there's people that I just feel like there's something a little wonky going on. So when I saw this, I was like, is there no one out there that is doing the Lord's work and like trying to like just be a good person with their profession?
Okay, so let me ask you this. When you say sold your soul to the devil, I think that I have an understanding of what you're talking about. And can you like what do you
I can clarify
yeah,
this.
like
Yeah.
what do you mean by
What
when
I
you say
mean
it?
is the purpose is like a nice coattail to ride, but the
Mhm.
money and the fame and the power is the fame monster. Let's for Lady Gaga's sake. Like it's the fame monster that just takes over. And
Mm.
I've never been in that position. I don't know if I would sell my soul to the devil if people are just like throwing gobs of money at you. That's pretty enticing, but like it kind of reminds me of like, the devil angel on your shoulder of like, okay, do I stay true to myself? I mean, this is all like stories we read as kids of like doing the right thing,
Yeah.
But so that's what I think about is I find it. I mean, I think the only people that I truly think in Hollywood are like really good earth people or even people who have like, made a name for themselves. It's like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. That's probably the only two people that I think have like not, done like shady crap to get where they are. Anyway, I don't want to go off on that tangent, but I do find that behavior problematic. And from like a psychology standpoint, I would imagine, because I've never been in that position before, but I would imagine that if you get that much power, something happens to you psychologically and you lose
Mm.
yourself, and unless you're surrounded with people who will tell you like it is and have been with you since day one, you will then have a pool of yes people around you that will just tell you what you want to hear because you got the money. You know what I mean? So my reaction when I saw this was like, oh man, like if I even hear that Michael Pollan is in these Epstein files, like I'm going to be so upset. Luckily, he did not come out yet as like being in the Epstein files, but I was like, if Michael
Yeah.
Pollan's in these, just like the most random people that you think are like doing really good things for our wellness, especially in the wellness space, right? But I think the thing that bothered me the most is the talk within, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, so I apologize if I am.
You can't jump if there's no outline.
Yeah, you're all good.
Okay.
We free flow here.
Okay, great. But the thing that bothered me the most, especially because I am a mental health professional, we have a board of ethics. We have ethics that we have to abide by. So does every other health professional, especially doctors. And so when I saw this, I was like, wait a minute. He's an MD, but he's not board certified. So I was like, okay, so let me back up. You have a duty to warn. You are a mandated reporter, or if you are in a position where someone discloses that they have been abused or there is active abuse or like anyone's life is in danger, you have a duty to warn. You have a duty to tell the authorities or warn someone if like their life is in danger, right?
Yeah.
So, and that is like what we call do no harm in medicine, in mental health. And so the fact that he was a doctor, at least he's an MD with elite training,
Yeah.
even though you may not have an active practice. Like he's a licensed physician with active licenses in, I'm sure, multiple states, right? And I'm sure like people would argue like, well, he didn't technically, but I'm like, but you are trained. I don't care what the technicality is. Like the fact that you just decided to maybe you were involved. I know that as far as like the Epstein files goes, it was like, well, okay, there was like some emails that we saw like inappropriate communication and hundreds of emails. I think it was like over 1,700 times in the documents. Correspondence, things that were like inappropriate, crude comments, but I freaking find it hard to believe that you didn't know what was going on and you didn't have one iota and that you didn't warn And these were underage. I mean, just anyway, I don't need to repeat that because everyone knows what it is, but it's just very disturbing. And I'm actually reading a book right now by one of the victims of the Epstein island.
Yeah.
And it was actually, abused by Prince Andrew. Anyway, all that to say is like people knew what the F was going on. Like people knew. So this
Right.
whole like, well, whatever statement he put out where it's like, I take accountability for like, these emails were embarrassing and tasteless. It's like, because you had to do that because you got caught and you would have flown under the radar and made all this money with your books. And so that's what I get just so frustrated with is like people just living their life, collecting all the checks. And then when you get caught, you try to do this like damage control. And then, I mean, you're never the same. Your reputation is completely tarnished. So I think people who are in those positions of power, even though you might like, let's just say if I became this like famous psychology expert or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I would not be able to sleep at night if I was doing shady shit behind closed doors because I still am trained and it's ingrained in me to do no harm. And if I was like walking around and people were abusing young girls, are you kidding me? Like I can't, there's no excuse. Like the splitting hairs of being like, well, technically he didn't have a practice and was seeing patients. He was just I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You are still trained to not harm people. So that's where like with him specifically, and there's all sorts of people that are problematic, but like that one I think was really like, oh, that's so disappointing. Like gross.
Okay. Well, can you help me understand the difference between like why it matters when somebody says that he's not board certified? I'm going to plead ignorance there. Like I don't know that I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean,
I know he didn't finish his residency.
yeah, I mean, it's like you don't have like a specialty, like you don't have a traditional specialty.
Okay.
So it's like, he has training, but never completed a residency, never completed like to be a board certified physician that practices fill in the blank, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, sure, he's got a lot of education, but he's not a full-time practitioner, like as a hospital or a physician. You know what I mean? So and I don't know what he does. Like I would find it very hard to think that he like actually keeps like a continuing education going. I don't know. I could be wrong, but like you take a Dr. Drew, who I actually do love. I think he's a little like Hollywood doctor, but I do love Dr. Drew. Like I may have to make an exception for him just a little bit. I still think there's like a little bit too much Hollywood in him, but I love his work with like addiction and but
Yeah.
he like still actively practices and he keeps his license updated. You have to take a ton of continuing education. You have to see a certain number of patients. Like you can't just like get your degree and go on your merry way. So I know that there's like even what's that awesome actor that has been in so many movies. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he's a doctor. He was like a doctor for Kaiser Permanente and then like went to Hollywood and became this actor. And he still will like keep his active like 3 months out of the year, like do some work to keep his license active. Anyway, so I feel like that's the main difference is like me having a PhD or an MD, but I didn't go through the actual like residency board certification. Therefore, you could kind of find the loophole to be like, well, I'm not technically actively practicing that type of medicine. Therefore, I may have the loophole to be like, well, I'm not technically bound by these ethics because I don't really have a license to lose.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, before we hit record, I was telling you that there was a video that I had watched, and I took a quick second to try and see if I could at least remember who it was. So this is related to somewhat what one of the things that you brought up. So I'll give credit. I watched this video a while back, but it's Molly McPherson, and she has a podcast called The PR Breakdown. And I am not familiar with her. So if she turns out to be super problematic, like not my fault. All right.
I've seen her on TikTok. She
You
doesn't
have? Okay.
seem problematic, but you never know.
At this
I
point,
just Googled her.
yeah. So
Okay.
no lie, like no, this is gonna sound like super weird, but whatever. I was I was like, how does anybody know who who is or isn't gonna show up on these files? Like I was sitting there like, huh. I remember this one guy I used to work with. I wonder if he's in there. Like just random people.
Just like
Just
random
like who's gonna
people.
show up at this point?
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so she had an episode titled The Epstein Emails, Why Peter Attia's Response Failed. If somebody does want to um, get get a different perspective, specifically from more of a PR standpoint, I thought it
Hmm.
was a very interesting and introspective breakdown because it really focuses primarily on the PR aspect of it. And one of the things that she, or a couple of things that she pointed out is one, if you look at the trajectory of his career, he didn't finish his residency. So he went into his residency and then pivoted into doing more like advising and partnership and collaboration with high powered people like TEDx talk, all of that. Like he went down that path. So it was very much like going through the education, then going through, I guess, like the next layer of the professional aspect. And prior to really getting like further down that road, made that pivot towards being attached to a particular like arm of the medical field that was more about collaboration and being in the public eye and being connected to really powerful people. So that was one thing, one narrative that she pointed out. Another thing that she pointed out that I thought was really an interesting point was, and this will really relate to more like the broader topic of the, I kind of think about that phrase like the separating the art from the artist. This goes more to kind of that angle of something to consider is his entire brand is not specifically just like streamlined to the science of things. It's about making like living a particular lifestyle that is about like taking care of yourself and living in a way that really just, I don't know how to say it, like honors yourself and you live with a sense of value. And it's just more about creating a particular lifestyle. Yes, it's science, according to him, science backed and science based. But that's one of the things that she really pointed out that I was like, huh, that is a very different angle that I haven't really thought about that his brand is much, it is about like making good decisions for yourself. And so then how that's why my takeaway is one of the reasons she said that his statement that he put out failed so hardcore was because his statement was all about how he was I just pulled it up. He makes 3 points. His statement is all about, I was not involved in any criminal activity. My interactions had nothing to do with his sexual abuse or exploitation of anyone, and I was never on his plane, never on his island, and never present in any sex parties. And she's like,
But he knew that they were happening.
right. She's like, and you still decided though to 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 hang out and have a relationship with this individual. And even as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, okay, so you specifically made sure that you weren't involved in these things and you still have never made a statement that I've seen that says you were not aware of these things. So
Yeah.
it's like me being like, hey, I never went to my friend's house. I'm not saying that I knew what was going on over there. I just, just randomly have decided that I'll never go to their house, not for any particular reason. So it's like, which one? So
Right.
yeah, so that was something that really stuck out to me was that his brand is all about a
Yeah.
particular
That's
lifestyle and a
a
way of
really good.
living. Yeah, and being a responsible
Yeah.
person who makes great decisions and informed
Hmm.
decisions. So that one really like that was a perspective that I was like, oh, that definitely. So now I do see even more where it's just ridiculously like it just seems so ridiculously hypocritical.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to check out this podcast, the PR Breakdown with Molly McPherson. I was looking at the titles. I'm like, this sounds really
You will
interesting.
go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. But the other
Mhm.
thing, as you were talking, made me think about was this whole like locker room talk thing of that is where I think a lot of men who are in trouble get to pull that card.
I cannot stand.
It
Sorry.
it is the piss poorest excuse I've like, please come up with something better. And the fact that people fall for it drives me absolutely bonkers. But he described some email as like crude banter. And I'm like, nope, no. Like, you made really horrible comments about women's bodies in 2016. Like, you don't get to just be like, that's crude banter. And look, are we going to sit here and be like, we're perfect angels? I'm pretty sure
No,
I would.
no,
No. But like, I'm pretty
no.
sure that I wouldn't be like saying gross. I don't know. Like, I'm a grown ass woman. Like, who are these people talking? Like, you're grown ass adults. Why are you putting these in emails? I don't understand. Like, I text stupid memes to my friends. I'm not sitting there being like, look at this bot. I mean, what? You know what I mean? So like, that's where I just don't understand. Like, even Trump being like, it's just locker room talk. I'm like, you're a effing grown ass man. This is not just locker room talk. Like, are we? So that this whole, I saw the parallel of like the crude banter on this comment with Peter
Mhm.
Attia. And then very timely today, I don't know when this episode comes out, but today I saw this video. I'm sure everyone has seen it. Is the locker room with freaking Cash Patel with the hockey team, with the U.S. hockey team.
I've just seen
Men's. Specify it's the men's team, not the women's.
Here we
what's
go
the
again with the locker room talk, because what happens is they get on the phone with the president and
I
they're
missed
all,
this.
oh my gosh. I mean, you'll see it 20
I'll see
times
it.
after
Okay.
within the like next 5 minutes after we hang up today. But like, it's basically Cash Patel acting like just a 16-year-old boy who just got to drink for the first time, like practically look like he's gonna rip his shirt off and like dump beer on his head. I'm like,
Kelly's like,
this
yep,
is the
accurate.
director of the
Yeah.
FBI. Like, not that I should be surprised by anything anymore. But basically they get on the phone with the president. And he's like, great job. Like, whatever. We're going to have you over to the White House. And I'm going to have to invite the girls too. Or I'll get impeached. And they're all like, yeah. And I'm just like, the women are better than you guys. They won more gold medals in less time than you. I have so many curse words that I'm trying to hold in, but it's like, just when you think women are trying to, I felt like, again, did you watch that documentary? Let's see, I think it's the 90s Train Wreck.
No.
Yeah, so let's see, Train Wreck. Yes, Woodstock 99. Oh my gosh. This is what it reminds me of. Is
I think I did.
Trainwreck Woodstock 99 was one of the most.
Is that the one where it was like everybody was going to the bathroom outside, there was sex everywhere? And yeah, I totally remember that.
Yes.
The documentary, to be clear.
Yes, you weren't there physically. Yeah.
No.
But it was like,
yes, I remember that.
Chaos. And when I watched that movie, I was brought to this like I think anyone who's maybe Gen X, millennial mix, depending on the age. I know if you're like an old millennial or like a younger Gen X. When I watched this, I felt very vulnerable and it was hard for me to watch, quite frankly, because it reminded me of the time in my life where I was an impressionable young girl that was treated a certain way by certain men in the 90s. That's how it was in the 90s. And women were objectified in very different ways. And it brought all of that back. And so I feel like as a woman, like almost 50 now, I'm like, you get this confidence of, okay, I'm beyond that. But when the world brings you back to that, like right now, seeing Cash Patel in that locker room, and look, I not in these like spaces where it's like male dominated and like, especially in sports. So I know
Yeah.
I probably sound a little bit like removed from this all, but like truly when I look at this, I'm like, have we not made any progress? Like it kind of brings me back to that time in my life where I'm really upset for young women who still have to deal with this, where I'm like, we've been trying to like carry this forward. But when you have a president who literally acts like a 5-year-old having tantrums every day, like it's hard for us to like, you know, to watch this and be like, we were really trying, ladies. We're still trying. So I don't know. I just took us on a lot of tangents. I apologize.
It's all right. We're gonna shift a little bit here. I wanted to leave some. Kelly, did you have anything you're kind of thinking?
No.
Here too?
I mean, we could go
You're
on.
nodding your head like equally as like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kelly,
yeah.
are you just making notes to be like, I'm cutting this out?
No.
No, we don't.
We just go in so many directions. I am, as you both know, I've been in male-dominated spaces my entire career. So, for me personally, I feel like things have changed from what I've seen. But so I frequent Reddit threads like Women in Tech. Things have not changed. Widespread things are very much not different for women in male-dominated spaces. So
yeah, the word microaggression keeps coming to my head, and it's one of those things, you know, speaking from the fitness angle of things, and just really that's my first real locker room type experience has been in my adulthood, being in gym locker rooms, because I was just talking to somebody about this not that long ago. I didn't grow up in like athletic locker rooms. I grew up backstage, show choir and drama. So the comments like that I'll hear inside of a locker room, and I mean, when people say like, yeah, it's locker room talk, they're not kidding. Like that is very quote unquote normalized locker room talk if you decide to be a bystander and not say something when you hear it around you. So for just from my point of view, like from my observation, is what I've noticed is there are more and more men who do speak up now and say like, yo, what'd you mean by that? And kind of flip it back on other men. And also, it's just highly disappointing that we're still like routinely having these things where I'll even have dudes around me. I'll be like, dude, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, let me introduce you to the word microaggression, because it's just one of those things where you think it's like a small thing, and what you are slowly doing without, maybe I'm going to assume that it's ignorance. So let me help you not be so ignorant next time, because every comment that you made, I just need you to understand that from my point of view, you are just like stacking more bricks in how ignorant you are, and you're part of the problem. And usually, like in my world, I can at least relate to like, hey, let me relate this to, are you comfortable that your daughter would hear you say that? Like, are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable if I say that about your kid? Like, are you cool? You good with that? Because most of my friends, their kids are in their late teens to early 20s. So there's been some real uncomfortable conversations. I'm not going to say that I have a whole lot of friends left in that world, but it's just one of those things where it's just like, dude, you've got to pay attention to what's going on here. So yeah, we definitely did pivot here. So anyways, anything else there before we let's kind of adjust a little bit?
No, I'm glad you brought that up though, about the microaggressions, because that is something that I think a lot of people ignore because they don't know how to address it, especially bystanders. They're like, oh, it's not my business. And I think there's a lot of ways to address it and stand up for it.
Yeah, I think you and I might have texted about this not that long ago. And I want to say there might have been somebody else. I can't remember. You
have too many friends.
We got a lot. No, that's definitely not a problem. It's more there's a lot of material to work with these days. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of material to work with these days. And if there's a conversation or like a post or something like that from somebody that I know that I care to entertain, then I typically will be like, hey, what was your thought process on this? Like, what were you hoping to accomplish by this before I comment further? So I had a former high school acquaintance who had commented that they were waiting for all the facts to come out after that video that Trump like reposted that had the Obamas as monkeys,
Oh,
like
Oh
that still,
my
right?
God.
And so they
The facts.
one of my
I'm sorry.
one of
I'm
my
sorry.
high school acquaintances was like, I
Okay.
was waiting for the
Okay.
facts to
I'm
come out.
listening. I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I got you. So what they did, so yeah, we're going in a different direction here. So the main post was a friend of mine from high school, black female, who had just posted some verbiage. So there was no video or anything. So she posted verbiage saying basically like, hey, it's just real interesting that I haven't heard from any of my Trump supporting high school friends who are usually all vocal about whatnot, and I'm not hearing them speak, that y'all are real quiet right now. So, we went to a predominantly white high school, suburban upstate New York. So handful of different people are kind of in the comments. And then a person that we went to high school with says, hey, I'm just going to present a different perspective. And she posted a video from a black male who is a creator who was more along the lines of the fake outrage thing. He's like, there's a bunch of fake outrage about this whole thing. So I essentially was like, hey, I'm curious what your opinion is of the video. Not like your opinion like co-opted from someone else, your opinion. And that's when she was like, well, I'm waiting for all the facts to come out. And I was like, well, one of the things that I'll share with you is that there are people like myself and others who don't have the luxury of waiting for other facts and details to come out. We are, and I'll speak for myself, I'm a father, biracial children. I'm a husband. I am a son. And so I have to operate in a world where you get to sit back and wait for the facts to come out while I'm watching someone who runs the country make decisions to put things out without regard to whether or not that's something that could be offensive to people. So it just got into this just a little bit of a back and forth where I was just like, at the end of the day, I'm just very curious about like what were you hoping to accomplish? And that's where I'll wrap this part of it up. That's where I think that's what I was texting you about. I think, Joy, is where I was saying that my whole like help me understand thing is it's not about like help me agree with you. I need to understand your side so that I can agree with it. I think that folks have gotten way too comfortable with thinking that a calm demeanor means that I'm here to make you feel comfortable. Like a calm tone and a calm demeanor and being able to control your tone doesn't mean that I'm also not going to make statements or ask you questions that are probably going to make you feel uncomfortable. And also, I'm not expecting it to be resolved in that specific interaction. And I think that's my piece when it comes, bring the cart back to land the plane. That's my piece when it comes to microaggressions is when I do hear things like that, because I think I'm almost like now in the fitness space, I'm just like, dude, this cannot fly. This absolutely cannot. Then when I hear something, I'm completely fine addressing it and then not having any expectation that I'm going to solve anything in that moment. I'm just hoping that you're aware that people listen to the things that you say, like to that individual who makes that comment. So maybe the next time, maybe you pause for like 4 seconds before it comes out of your mouth. And then that female who's on the other side of it won't have to deal with the ignorant thing that you so easily said before, but maybe you pause next time. That's what I've got.
Yeah.
That
You're
was,
so good at the
I didn't know we were going there, but
No, I'm glad we did. You're so and I look to you all the time where I'm like, "Oh, I do react." And I'm getting a lot better at this, but I understand that doesn't do anything cuz reacting with like anger or rage, I can do that for the situation, but then to like approach it with having more of a conversation of tell me more about what you meant by this, or how did you come to this decision? I recently talked on our other show about like in-group versus out-group bias, where like everyone, not to take another right turn, but like where everyone lost their minds over the Bad Bunny concert and like however the halftime show and like how it wasn't in English. And it's like, does anyone really understand what anyone is singing in any language anytime? Like, are you kidding me?
we were just talking about Nickelback. I mean, come on
Yeah,
now.
we're talking about like Pearl Jam, like Eddie Vedder, I love you so, but like no one knows what you're saying. Like, are we really gonna get that mad over someone singing their native language? Give me a break, you know? But it was like, it wasn't about that. It was because there's such a strong in group and out group that you are automatically stuck into. So what I would venture to guess, JK, is your friend that was like, I'm waiting for more facts, is they were stuck on I have to stay with my in group
Facts.
because like changing my opinion would change my identity, and it's all wrapped up in identity. And so yeah, it's all very we just have to we have to start using our brains a little more. I think critical thing, my husband and I always talk about this because I'm like, how do we change stuff? And it's like, got to get more critical thinking on the line. You just got to pick up that phone and do some critical thinking.
Did I tell you that Ava texted me?
What?
A professor, oh, what did she text me? It was something like, a professor said something today and it's now my new screensaver. And the professor said, critical thinking is a superpower at
Yeah,
this point.
it
At
is.
this point in life, critical
It
thinking is
is
a
a
superpower.
superpower.
And for
1,000.
reference, she's in her first semester of like a very competitive nursing program. So I think they're trying to like, use your heads, people. Use your heads. Yeah.
I that is I think I need to like, and I don't tattoo myself, but I'm like that I think I will tattoo on myself at some point, because it's just, I think that can do so much.
Okay. So hard pivot for a few minutes here because we don't have super long. I know. You know what though?
I told you once a quarter we're gonna ramp me back up.
I'd say we're probably down for it. To be honest with
Yeah, for sure.
you. So how do you all evaluate, like, what matters outside of somebody's area of expertise? Like, how do you evaluate, hey, this is where I draw the line? And I know that's a very vague thing. I think about, so we started with Peter Attia. Let's say it's like, remove the professional professional occupation or something that you would have to be certified to do, I guess, because I'm thinking more in the fitness space, like somebody like myself. Where do you draw the line? How do you separate, or do you separate how someone is as a person from what they do? Like, Kelly, you have
Yeah.
some thoughts on this? Because
Um,
I don't know.
I would say a few years ago, I probably wouldn't have given it much thought, but the world we live in now, I have firmer lines. I've unfollowed a lot of people recently due to speaking out in certain situations and not others, that kind of thing. So I think for me, like, if our values don't align, then I don't need to be listening to you, especially because thinking about like Peter Attia, he's a quote unquote expert, but like he's not the only one. Like I can get my information elsewhere from people who are not him, and that have better values. And that's why I think about like in Instagram, like influencers. Like there are people I've really enjoyed following, and I like their content. And I just found out, things they might support or like they don't feel the need to speak up about, and I'm just like, I just can't. I don't need to get my information from you. As much as I enjoy what you're putting out and it can be helpful in that sphere and fitness, to running specifically, well, running and lifting, I guess. Like, there are so many other people I can look to. So I'll just go find people that better align with me. So, yeah.
Joy, what about you? How much does it factor into?
It does a lot, because
Okay.
here's the other thing that kind of creeps me out is I don't worship any, and I don't think any of you guys don't either, but I don't worship any. A long time ago, I kind of realized that almost every really popular person had a downfall. And I'm not saying like,
Yeah.
I'm not perfect, but I'm just saying there was something correlating to where I was like, I'm never going to like worship this one influencer. I mean, aside from Oprah, I hope Oprah doesn't come out to have like some, but Oprah to me is like, all right, we can
Like your
trust
one
Oprah.
hall pass.
We can trust Lady O, or Michelle Obama. Like there's like the people that I truly feel like they have been in a public, they've been in a public role that people have been able to dig whatever they want to dig, and there's nothing that's come out so far. But in terms of like influencers or people who have books, or I recently was talking to someone about this. I'm like, I feel like such a jerk saying it, but I'm like, I really feel like people who have a like large following and everyone's like, I love this person, is really secretly batshit crazy. Like I just have this spidey sense, and I'm like, because look at all the documentaries that are made from these influencers that all of a sudden they're like, she faked cancer the whole time. And you're just like, I think they're all batshit crazy. And then I'm like, and I know some of them that are like real, like up there. And I'm like, yeah, they're kind of nuts. But like, so what I try to do is I'm like, take the information that's helpful, but don't treat it like this, God that you are following their cult. And that's where I try to just treat it like tread lightly, because I'm like, again, like I'm learning some problematic things about Jay Shetty that I'm like, ooh, he's been such a guru with like the top podcast for so long, and oh my gosh, monk life. And I'm like, there's something weird going on there. We're going to find out. Mark my words, something's coming out. Rachel Hollis, Claire and I talk about this all the time. The girl wash your face girl. That was really problematic. There's been so many. And look, I just see that it is a slippery slope to just like worship the altar of whatever influencer. So any book that comes out, any like certain way to do this, that, the other thing. Again, my other exception is Brene Brown, because she's got the research to back it up, and she has been in the psychology field for decades. So I'm like, okay, she's another one that I think I can get behind, because she does the research, she has the studies, she has the pure data. She's not out here peddling greens or whatever the hell those gummies are, where I'm just like, if I see one more influencer peddling greens, is it Groons or greens? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I know what you're talking about too.
Stop selling me gummies. I don't like. Not everyone has to love them that much. Like I see all these influencers that are like these gummies, and I'm just like, you are so embarrassing yourself, because no one loves green gummies that much. And I'm sure that you were getting paid a hefty fee just to promote this. Same with athletic greens. So I'm like, I don't see Brene peddling any greens out there. So at the end of the day, girls got to eat. I get it. But anyone who's like peddling stuff, my spidey senses are going up,
How much, from you all's opinion, how much of this, how much responsibility does the general public take in this also? Because I think about this from just in the very like little tiny pond or tiny person that I am in a very large fitness pond. Just even individuals that I know who know other individuals who know other individuals who are then connected to like the larger fitness influencers and coaches in the fitness space. Number one, none of them are out here claiming to be like perfect in any way, shape, or form. It just happens that at some point they got an opportunity, they got linked up, like something like that, to really like blow up their platform. And I remember even having a conversation with a particular individual who has blown up like pretty big right now, and asking them because at one point they had, I swear it took like, it was almost like Joe Rogan level waiting to get to the point on the podcast because you had to listen to so many like sponsored by this and sponsored by this.
Mm.
And they were like, yeah, I totally get it. And also, if I want to get my message out to the people, then this is the one vehicle that will help me do that, because they're like, the podcast makes no money without X sponsors. You know, people consume my content all the time, but they don't, you know, people buying my $10 a month program or whatever it may be is not going to pay the bills, but the sponsors pay most of the bills. So they're not pretending to be some perfect individual. It's just, I guess the question that I have in my head is, what is that person supposed to do? Like, is it like, okay, well, once I get to this level, do I need to like have a come to Jesus confessional with
It's
my,
like,
the public to let them know, like, hey, before you like me too much, just a heads up, like, I once like called another guy fat in 8th grade, so don't get mad at
so
me.
that may come out, right? Like we're going to see tweets that are pulled up from like
Yeah,
2007.
because I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you, like, I've done some really stupid stuff when I was a kid, like stupid things. And I think about this. I truly, truly think about this sometimes where I'm just like, I'm not in the Epstein files, but I'm just saying, like, I've done some really dumb things, you
It
know?
was pre-internet. Like no one's going to track it. No one's going to know. I think about that
That's
too, where I'm like, thank God I
that
don't
is
have any pictures to prove it, you know?
that is, I don't know. Do you know that CVS employee who processed your disposable camera really didn't make a copy for themselves?
That's true. That's true.
I actually thought about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's my question. Like, from a public standpoint, like, how much of this is us as a public filling in the gaps
Yeah.
of like getting that person to a certain status, and how
So
much of it is like, yeah, you should, like, getting that person to did X thing. Who knows?
So are you saying like that people should disclose all their faults before they make it big? Is that what you're saying?
I don't, well, one, I don't think it's realistic. Like, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
What I think is nobody, and maybe I'm self-projecting here, like, nobody is
I get
perfect.
what you're saying. Like no one's
Yeah. Everybody.
right.
I think that all three of us, we could find something in each person's past and make it problematic somehow. Like, we could find it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay, fine, maybe not Kelly, but still. No, but I'm saying, like, you could find something. So it's like, at what point, unless it's criminal behavior, at what point does that become like, well, you know, had I known this, I wouldn't have trusted that person? Like, what's that individual supposed to do, I guess?
I think it's kind of like how, because look, we're not gonna like comb through every single thing, but I think it's like
Yeah.
on some level, do you as a person and how you present match what maybe like if something were to come out? That I think that if you all of a sudden see this discrepancy, that's where I would be like, oh, we fell for that. I feel duped. I think people don't like to feel duped, or feel like they idolize someone who then all of a sudden becomes like turns out to be this horrible, horrible person.
It'd be like kind of like the Rachel Hollis thing where like
Totally.
they were still doing couples, you know, podcasts and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they were like, we're splitting up.
Right.
Kind of like that vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Or
for me,
like
it'd be like in
everything
the
is
fitness space. You find out somebody all along
you
was
had
suffering
liposuction.
through, actually these days it's that they've been on a GLP-1 the entire time. And
Right.
I've been very clear around, like, I'm not speaking out against them. What I'm saying is there are a
Right.
decent amount of people in the fitness space who actually have some serious body dysmorphia and some ED stuff going on, who they're still touting that the results that you get are based on doing their 6-week shred.
Their shred, yeah. That
I'm like,
whole space is, and it's vulnerable people. So people are very easy to fall for a hero. They're easy to, especially in the diet and exercise realm, they want this quick fix.
Yeah.
Well, now we have a magic pill. Like, that's done. That's something I never thought I would be saying. So
Yeah.
really, I have to like start thinking of like really crazy things that
You
might come
can't
out of
say
my
there
mouth.
is
I'm
no
like,
magic pill.
that now there is a magic pill. So people are vulnerable and like want to have an answer. That's why manifestation stuff is really big and astrology is really big. I watched the Real Housewives period, but I watch right now the new season of Beverly Hills is out.
I was wondering if you were going here. I watched too.
Yeah, and there's a new cast member on there that is like this manifestation
Coach?
diva and like coach, and she has made gobs of money doing this. And I'm like, this is where it drives me crazy, because I guarantee you she is just like full of it. And look, I believe in manifestation, but you're preying on really vulnerable people. I'm not trying to like ruffle feathers out there, but I have a really big problem of people selling that type of material, because as a mental health professional, you have no idea what their background is. And if you're just telling them to manifest all the money in the world by just thinking positive, I take issue with that big time. You don't know what this person has been through. You don't know what trauma they've been through. You can't just tell someone to think positive and all of a sudden money's going to fall out of the freaking sky. So that's something that I have big issue with. Is like, you can be a manifestation coach. That's fine. Just like, you're writing. I mean, she lives in Beverly Hills, makes so much money from her coaching, freaking whatever it is. I refuse to go to her website.
What's this person's name?
Amanda
Francis.
Okay. This tracks.
She wrote a book called Rich AF.
Yeah.
That's what she's quote unquote known for, according to her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we've got like a couple minutes. So what's the question that I have? The question that I have, it's in my head, like right at the very frontal portion of my head. So the question that I have here is, you have the person who maybe they identify, or their brand and the image that they give is all about like helping you achieve X thing within the fitness, wellness, whatever space. And you don't necessarily know their entire backstory and different things that they've struggled with. And if you were to know that, though, it would change maybe your view of them. However, now they're able to help you through said thing. Like, does that matter? I guess the thing that I keep going back to, I know it didn't make sense, but the thing that I keep going back to is when it comes to like separating how somebody is personally, or personal faults that they have and different things like that, I just assume that how somebody got really good at something is because they probably have some sort of toxic past connection to the thing that they're now good at. I just assume that, because I don't know, but it doesn't seem like that doesn't seem like how everybody else seems to think.
I think it's different for everyone, but at the end of the day, just don't be a douchebag. Like, that's kind of where I'm like, just be a good person. And I think that's where people lose themselves, is like power, money. Like, look at all the billionaires, trillionaires, millionaires. Like, people are so out of touch. And I would wonder about that. That's another conversation I feel like we could have, is like, what attracts someone to like an influencer or someone who's selling their stuff is different for everyone. But I think for people who have like these mass followings, I think you have to morph into maybe something that's like outside of your values, to keep that train going. I was just, oh my gosh, have you watched the Tyra Banks, the Top Model documentary yet?
Oh yeah.
I have not yet.
God. Let's do another episode on that alone.
That's when I want to sit down and like.
It is so heart-wrenching. And that's, again, I was like taken back to the 90s with like my trauma and my like eating disorder stuff. And I was just like, yeah. But like, basically, I don't trust Tyra. I don't trust her. I think she fed in, and this is where people lose themselves. This is a perfect example. Tyra, amazing model. she should have just kept doing that. But like, and she made a ton of money doing Top Model, America's Next Top Model, and, you know, her talk show and everything. But she sold her soul to the devil is exactly what it feels like. Like, she did not take any accountability for the damage she did to those girls. She pushed it. And a lot of the times in this documentary, they talk so much about like, well, it was like hindsight's 2020. I get that. Like, they were basically blaming the culture back in the 90s and early 2000s for this. Yes, that is very true. And I didn't see a lot of reality shows coming out with like all of the, I don't know, maybe I'm missing it, but like they really screwed some of these women over like royally and for the sake of ratings. And that's where I think it's a slippery slope, because you will push so far to get ratings, like that whole if it bleeds it leads type of mentality, because that's money. And that's, you know what? I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to work in Hollywood. So that's where I kind of have to be like, I go on the other side and, you know, devil's advocate, where Tyra was in that world and that was what she had to, like, she had to play that game. And as a Black woman back in the day where she was like the only Black supermodel, if I was in her shoes, I would have probably played that game too, to be like, let me show you. So that's where I kind of like, it's hard for me, but I'm like, I don't, at the end of the day, when you scale it down, I don't trust that she didn't take accountability for the damage that she did to those girls. She completely just like, what's the word when you just kind of like deflect? She kept deflecting and blaming other, it was the network. It wasn't my decision. I wasn't a producer. And I'm like, you knew this shit was going on. Same with Peter Attia. You knew this shit was happening and you didn't say anything, you know? So the bystander effect, I have a hard time with that. Okay, I'm going to shut up now because I know we have to.
I think some just closing thoughts, wrapping it all together. I think a lot of just comes down to like, we don't expect people to be perfect and have perfect past or how they dealt with things in the past. But a lot of what I'm hearing that we're saying is it matters. Like if something comes up, how they respond to it. Like Peter Attia did not respond well.
Yes.
Tyra has not responded well. Like if she had taken more accountability in the documentary, then I think we would all be like,
and the documentation.
Yeah. I think we would be like, okay, yeah, like we all did grow up in the 90s and 2000s. Like what happened on the show was the culture at the time. So like we can't expect them to behave differently, but we can't expect her now in 2026 or 2025, whenever they filmed it, to be like, yeah, that was really bad. Like we shouldn't have done some of these things. And like, I played into this.
Because even some of the directors were like, yeah, it was a bad call. I really regret doing this part or whatever. And she never did.
Very much like the Biggest Loser thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 1000%. And this is the thing. It's 1000% like that. And that's a great call out, because that show, again, no one batted an eyelash when that was happening.
Yeah. It was normal.
Yeah.
That was totally normal.
That was actually, it probably was labeled must-see TV because it wasn't on NBC. Yeah, that was like
prime time. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that says about us as a generation either. Because is there anything at this point so you've got an America's Next Top Model, we've got Biggest Loser, we had the Victoria's Secret stuff that's come out, we've had the Abercrombie stuff that's come out, we've had Diddy. So you've had Diddy.
We had the boy band stuff.
Not looking good for us, man. It's not looking good.
Like well, I don't know if Lou Pearlman himself was probably like accused of anything, but you've got that going on. You have Les Wexner, who is running the Limited Corporation, who was linked to Jeffrey Epstein. So he owned all of those companies. I mean, pretty much Bill Cosby was around that time frame also. So it's just like all of the things that for years we were just like, yeah, that was the best or the best era for entertainment. Finding out all of that stuff that was going on behind the scenes, at least for us, it was behind the scenes, but it seems like it was like the worst kept secret ever in their circles. Just very interesting. It's like, what does that say about us? I'm like, I don't think I have any right to talk to my kids about some of the stuff that they're watching now.
Yeah.
Seems like, well,
it's so hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Like at least they're upfront about the foolishness now. So
and everyone's got a camera and everyone has you can't get by with anything. I still think about that. I'm like, thank God I wasn't able to be like filmed in the clubs or like, you know, there's no video of me in college, like at the club. I mean, thank goodness gracious. But
I
these
think
days,
about that all the time because that was the era of Girls Gone Wild too, where
totally,
that was like a normal. That was the
totally.
commercial and all that jazz. I remember that because they came to East Lansing. Yep,
Yep.
totally remember that. All right, so ending on that note, there we go.
Just a little light chat about Girls Gone Wild.
Listen,
I love it.
we're gonna scoot on past that topic. So, with that, Joy, thank you so much for being.
Oh my gosh, it's always so fun to talk to you guys, and I just feel like our tangents are so therapeutic. So I appreciate it.
They're so fun. Yeah, you'll have to come on again soon, and we can just.
Can we just like tear down some of these shows or like, I don't know, more fitness stuff? Because I just really, it's like the catharsis is real.
We will loop something fitness related into the next.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do.
We talked about fitness a bit.
More about running. Yeah.
We talked about fitness. It was in there.
Yeah. Oh, Joy, we're down, we're down whenever. So with that, Kelly, would you like to tell the folks where to find that?
Your best bet is to email us at liftingrunningLiving@gmail.com. You can message us on Instagram at liftingrunningLivingPod, but I still have Instagram deleted from my phone, so we might not see it.
That's fair. And you can always take a shot with sending me a DM.
Yeah.
We are killing the social media game here, Kelly.
You can DM me because I check on my laptop, but I just don't log into our
there we go.
podcast.
And then Joy, can you give a reminder if folks would like to tap into any of your podcast assists?
Yes, of course. You can listen to Older and Wilder with Joy and Claire. We also have a podcast that we do about twice a month called Taylor. It's like a Taylor Swift fan show. And then the Great British Bake Off one that we do once a year is On Your Marks, Get Set, Bake. And then I also have a mental health focused podcast with my co-host Rebecca called The Laugh Cry Club. And that's a great one because we talk all about mental health.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. You earned me a couple of brownie points this past weekend because I was at a function for my wife's job, and in talking to a couple of people, that show came up, and I was like, oh, I actually have a friend who podcasts and does recaps of those baking shows. And they're like, no way you do. So I just tried to pretend like I knew what they were talking about. I was just
like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
The British Bake Off, yes.
And then I definitely messed up and called it like Ready, Set, Bake. So
that's okay. I've actually called it that, and I have the show, for crying out loud.
All right. Well, folks, if you have stuck around this long, we truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Lifting, Running, and Living. Take care of yourself, and we will talk to you next time.
Bye.